Hi everyone, my name is Brittany J. Jones. Mimi has asked me to step in while she's away on business to record the sew alongs for her new Simplicity Spring patterns. In this video, we're going to be sewing Simplicity 9268 and we'll be following along with view A on that pattern. Let's get started. So here's a closer look at the pattern. Again, this is Simplicity 9268. If you notice, I have a different number up here at the top. That's because I got my pattern from the display, meaning I did not open up the drawer to search for the pattern and pull it from there. They have different numbers for the display patterns as well as for the drawer patterns, but they are both the same. You can just look at the instructions. If you get it from the drawer, again, it'll be 9268. The display will be this number here. Here on the back of the envelope, you can see that they have a list of suggested fabrics that will be great for both of these garments. They also have a list of notions that you will need. So you'll need coordinating thread as well as 1/2 inch wide elastic. Let's review the pattern pieces to cut to make view A on this pattern. We will need to cut out pattern piece number 1. This is the front, and we're going to cut 1 on the fold. We will also need to cut out pattern piece number 2. This is the back. We're going to cut 1 on the fold. Pattern piece number 3, this is the front ruffle. We're going to cut 1. Pattern piece number 4, this is the back ruffle, and we need to cut 1. Pattern piece number 5, this is the necktie. We need to cut 1. Pattern piece number 6, this is the upper elastic guide. We need to cut 1 of elastic, not from fabric. And pattern piece number 7, this is the lower elastic guide. We will need to cut 1 from the elastic, again, not from fabric. For fabric, I'll be using this linen in the color burnt orange from Melanated Fabrics. Let's get started. To get started sewing, the first thing that we're going to do is take our pattern piece number 1 and number 2, which is the front and back, and we're going to pin it together along the side seam. I've placed a little mark here to indicate the back of my fabric. So you should have transferred some notches. You want to go ahead and line those up. Pin at your notches and pin down the remaining of the side seam. Once you have the side seams pinned, we can go ahead and stitch them at a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance and then finish off your raw edge however you prefer to finish off your seams. I'll be finishing off mine with my serger. Be sure to backstitch at the beginning and the end of your stitch. Now that we have sewn the side seams, I've finished mine with my serger and I've pressed the seam going toward the back. The next step is to go ahead and fold up 7/8 of an inch along the lower edge of the top. So you want to grab a seam gauge or a ruler, just want to fold up again 7/8 of an inch. And then we'll go to the ironing board and we'll press that in place. After we have the 7/8 of an inch pressed in place, then we'll fold under 1/4 of an inch of that raw edge and press that in place. So let's go ahead to the ironing board and press our hem up now. Now that we have the hem folded and pressed in place, we can go to the sewing machine. We're going to stitch right along this top fold, this pressed edge here. Be sure to leave an opening though so that we can insert the elastic. So let's go to the sewing machine and stitch this in place now. Now that the hem has been stitched in place, again, you should have left an opening to insert your elastic. We can go ahead and put this to the side and start to work on the ruffle. Go ahead and grab your pattern piece number 3 and 4, and we're going to put them right sides facing, and we're going to pin along the side seams. Be sure to match up your notches and pin there. Now we can go ahead and stitch at a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that we have the side seams of the ruffle sewn in place, you want to go ahead and just press your seams open flat. From here, the next step is to fold the ruffle in half with the wrong sides facing. So we're just going to fold it up like so. And then you can go to the sewing machine and do a basting stitch to hold your raw edges together. I'm using a linen, so I'm just going to press mine in place. The press is holding well, but if you would like to baste yours, once you have it folded with wrong sides facing, you can go ahead and do a basting stitch to keep your raw edges together. Once you have your ruffle basted or pressed in place with wrong sides facing, we can go ahead and grab the top. And I'm going to flip this out so the right side is facing out like so. I'm going to grab the ruffle and I'm going to place it over the top, matching up the raw edges as well as the side seams and my notches. So I'm going to pin along my side seam. I'm going to match that up first. I'm going to pin that in place. Now I'm going to match up my notches and just continue pinning the ruffle around the top. Now that we have pinned the ruffle on, here's a quick look at mine. Now we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're just going to stitch at a 7/8 of an inch seam allowance. Be sure to back stitch at the beginning and the end of your stitch. And again, the seam allowance is 7/8 of an inch. Now that we have the ruffle sewn on, you want to press your seam allowance down toward the inside of the garment. The next step is for us to do a 1/4 of an inch stitch away from the raw edge. So we'll be stitching right along here through all thicknesses. So you're not just going to be stitching the seam allowances, you're going to be stitching through the top as well. So again, it's going to be a 1/4 of an inch from this raw edge, and we'll be stitching through all thicknesses, and be sure to leave an opening so that we can insert the elastic. Again, I'm going to be stitching a 1/4 of an inch away from this raw edge. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end of the stitch. I'm going to make sure to leave an opening to insert the elastic. All right, now that we have stitched from a 1/4 of an inch along the inside and we've left an opening to insert the elastic, and again, we stitched through all thicknesses, now we want to go ahead and insert the elastic. So grab your pattern piece number 6 and number 7. And you just want to grab your elastic and just lay your elastic over the pattern piece. You don't need to stretch it. So just lay it, get your measurement, and cut a piece. Here are my 2 elastics. I put numbers on them so I don't get things confused. So number 6 is for the upper elastic. I have a safety pin on one end. I'm going to find the opening that I left, and I'm just going to insert the elastic through. I'm going to insert this one all the way around. I'm going to do the lower elastic the same way. Once you have both of your elastics pulled through, you want to go ahead and try on your top and adjust your elastics if you need to. Once you are comfortable with the way that they fit, you can go ahead and secure your elastics. To do that, just remove your safety pin. You want to lap over the ends of your elastic like so. Don't stitch them together like this. That'll create bulk in your seam. Just go ahead and lap them over, secure your elastic in place, then just distribute the fullness of the elastic throughout the casing, and then close up the opening that you left. All right, both of the elastics are now in, and I've closed up the opening where we left it open to insert the elastic. I also went back and finished off the raw edge along the top of the ruffle. The next step is to start working on the necktie. Here's my necktie right here. You want to fold your necktie with the right sides facing, and you want to stitch a 3/8 of an inch down the length of your necktie. So I've done my stitch already. Again, you're just going to fold it right sides facing and stitch at a 3/8 of an inch. You want to go ahead and trim that down some, and once you have that done, we can flip it right side out. If you have a loop turner, this would be a great time to grab that. If not, you can use a safety pin on one side and just kind of feed it through. I'm going to use the loop turner here and just bring this over to the right side. From here, I'm going to go ahead and give my tie a good press. Once you have your tie flipped right side out and pressed, you want to go ahead and fold your tie in half. I just tucked in the raw edges from my tie. When I'm done, I'll go back and slip stitch these open and closed, but you just want to tuck in about 3/8 of an inch, and then you can slip stitch the edge of the tie closed. But for right now, I just have mine tucked in and pressed. I'm going to fold the tie in half like so. So I'm just going to take the fold. I'm going to place it right here at the marking, right along the top stitch where we originally attached the ruffle to the top. Just going to line it up right there. We can grab a pin and pin that in place. Now we can go to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch right along that same stitching, making sure that we catch the fold of the tie in that. All right, I have my tie stitched on, so here's a look at it from the front. And here's a look at it from the inside. Once you have yours stitched on, you can go ahead and slip stitch the raw ends of your tie, and then you'll be all done with your top. Well, that is all for this sew along, and I really do hope that you all enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below, and be sure to tag Mimi G Style in your mate so that she can see and share them on social. Until next time, blessings everyone. Bye.